Buenos días a todas y todos. Tengo el gusto de darles la cordial bienvenida
Bonjour, j'ai le plaisir de donner
de la pesca y la acuicultura artesanales 2022. Mi nombre es Martina Salvo, soy consultora de comunicaciones de la Iniciativa Regional de Agricultura Sostenible y Resiliente y voy a estar apoyando a F. Crowley, que va a ser la moderadora del evento, pero en este momento está con un problema de conexión. Les comentamos que el webinar está dividido en 3 sesiones. En la primera sesión, vamos a presentar
the webinar will be divided into 3 sessions. In the first session, we will present the welcoming remarks by Mr. Julio Berligue, FAO Assistant Director General and Regional Representative for Latin America and the Caribbean. In the second session, we will hear testimonials on the innovative capacity of small-scale fisheries and aquaculture in the context of sustainable development. And in the third session, we will hear presentations on regional initiatives and some closing remarks with a call to action. It's important to make 2 things clear. Although this is a regional launch that is informative in nature, if we do have time, we may add a few questions at the end. So we would like to invite you to make sure that you post your concerns and questions in the chat box through the broadcast channels. Panelist presentations include photos and or videos before and after COVID-19, that is with or without masks and social distancing. So it's important to mention this because at FAO, we promote strict adherence to biosecurity measures. Next, and to lay the groundwork for this regional launch, we would like to present you with a short FAO video on the International Year of Artisanal Fisheries and Aquaculture 2022.
Our small actions can have big impact.
Les petites actions peuvent avoir un énorme impact, comme un effet de vague. L'aquaculture et la pêche artisanale, fournissent des aliments et fournissent des aliments sains à des millions de personnes et tout le monde s'en bénéficie. Le pêcheur de petite échelle et les pisciculteurs connaissent très bien qu'est-ce que c'est conserver la balance des écosystèmes, mais notre mode de vie sont menacés. Aujourd'hui, plus que jamais, il faut être résilient. Il faut inclure dans les décisions qui nous touchent et nous pourrons nous adapter et innover selon les marées. Peut-être nous travaillons à petite échelle, mais notre façon de vie bénéficie tout le monde et se propage comme les vagues dans l'eau, comme des ondes sur l'eau. Petite échelle, grande valeur. Grande valeur.
Muy emocionante el testimonio.
Quite emotional to see that testimonial and the record of that. So now we would like to share with you the remarks of Julio Berligue, who has some introductory remarks. Go ahead, Julio. The floor is yours. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, colleagues, the men and women involved in artisanal fisheries and small-scale aquaculture make a very significant contribution to food security, nutrition, poverty alleviation, and generating more dynamic economies as well as the sustainable use of natural resources. We talk about small scale, but perhaps the term does not reflect the reality so well, because you can see that nearly half of all the fish caught for human consumption around the globe comes from artisanal fisheries and small-scale aquaculture. In Latin America and the Caribbean, these sectors generate more than 2.6 million direct jobs. That does not appear to be small-scale, and 3 times more than these jobs if we actually include indirect jobs. We estimate that the level of production is more than 2.5 million tons per year, valued at approximately $3 billion. About 90% of all of the jobs generated by the fishing sector are actually associated with artisanal fisheries. And these fishermen and fisherwomen provide up to 85% of the fish that is consumed by the population. Yet, these important contributions are not yet fully recognized. Artisanal fisheries and small-scale aquaculture have limited access to resources. They are excluded from political and decision-making processes, and many of them live in a high level of poverty and vulnerability. That is why the 72nd General Assembly of the United Nations proclaimed the year 2022 as the International Year of Artisanal Fisheries and Aquaculture. Its purpose is to raise awareness among public opinion and among government leaders as well, to promote and adopt specific and concrete public policies and programs to improve the living conditions of those who carry out this activity and also make it increasingly more sustainable. That is why, for me, representing the FAO regional office, it is quite a pleasure and honor to be with you here today at the regional launch for Latin America and the Caribbean of the International Year of Artisanal Fisheries and Aquaculture 2022. FAO will accompany you throughout the entire year and beyond to actually strengthen this sector. That is our commitment. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the steering committee led by Peru. Tremendous effort, tremendous work that is actually beginning to be crowned with success. And also, I would like to thank the member countries of the 3 sub-regional committees, one in Mesoamerica, one in the Western Central Atlantic and South America, and all of those of you who will be joining us to work together throughout this year. Let's go ahead. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, señor Julio, por sus palabras.
Thank you, Julio, for your kind remarks. This celebration is a very unique opportunity to actually bring the profile up of artisanal fisheries and aquaculture. It's also an opportunity to share our experiences with you and lay the groundwork consisting of concrete actions to ensure a future in which these sectors can make their full contribution to sustainable development. We would like to remind you that we are broadcasting this event through FAO's YouTube channel and from our Twitter account at FAO Americas. We would like to invite you to comment on the event on our social media accounts using the hashtags Artisanal Fisheries and Aquaculture. Now we will have an opening statement from the artisanal fisheries stakeholders. Zoila Bustamante, you have the floor. Go ahead, Zoila.
Señora Zoila Bustamante, ¿estará conectada o tendrá algún inconveniente?
Is Zoila Bustamante with us here today? Yes, I am here. Excellent. Thank you. We are ready for you to turn on your camera and begin your presentation. If you need some support sharing your screen, we are here to help you. Yes, I do need some support. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me as an artisanal fisherwoman, particularly bearing in mind today that we are launching this international year. Now, I would like to mention that I just arrived from Valparaíso, and unfortunately, I'm seated in a park where, in order to give this presentation. Now, today, I am here to speak to you, and I am a leader of the Latin American Union of Artisanal Fisheries, as well as the National Confederation of Artisanal Fisheries from Chile. I am also a shellfish fisherwoman, and I am very honored to have been invited to this event. Next slide, please. Okay, the Latin American Union of Artisanal Fisheries is a group comprised of Argentina, Brazil, Ecuador, Nicaragua, Panama, El Salvador, Guatemala, Peru, Costa Rica, Colombia, and Chile. Chile is the presiding country today, and it's very important. This is a key organization. We've been working together since 2015, and a few months ago, we were actually formally established as a Latin American and Central American Union Confederation. We pulled together to provide more support and meet the needs of the artisanal fisheries sector. Next slide, please. We address a variety of different issues internationally, for example, subsidies for offshore fleets, distant fleets. We know that this is a key issue because we're all fully aware of the scourge that these fleets bring about in our countries, primarily in Latin America, which is the focus of these large fleets. We are very much concerned about this because there are countries that continue to provide subsidies for these fleets when, in fact, what they should do with these subsidies is use these funds for marine conservation, marine resources to foster their development. I think that's the approach we need to take today. We're seeing that times are very difficult today, specifically for the artisanal fisheries sector, and it's even more difficult when these fleets enter our exclusive economic zones and take from the ocean. Now, we also are facing major challenges regarding climate change. I know that we have been dealing this for a while, and FAO has led an effort here. But what are we doing today? Well, we all need to join our efforts here. That's why this is something quite pending here in our sector in Latin America. As I said, we are those of us and the causing climate change. It's not one individual's fault, and it's not one single country's fault. The burden is all of ours. We are all responsible for this. So we need to also together figure out how to truly address climate change and not just predicate, not just preach. We need to walk the talk. We need to make sure that the communities are consulted, that we go to the small coves and we question the people about the changes they're witnessing. We know that the Pacific Ocean is changing entirely, 200%. We no longer have 20 days to harvest. We've reduced our harvest time to 5 days, and that's essentially the result of climate change. The oceans are polluted. We see that areas used to be cold or warm. There's a lot of sharks roaming around. And so today we need to figure out how to best address this. All of us producers along the coastline and elsewhere, environmental organizations, all of us need to figure out how to best address this major concern. And it's not something that will end soon, not today, not tomorrow, but it's here for the long term. And organizations say they're working on this topic, but they're practically doing nothing. Next slide, please.
Illegal fishing, in all our countries, this happens, and this goes hand in hand with subsidies. Everything that is fished outside is processed in factory ships. We don't know the reality of what's going on. We don't know what they do with the product, and that comes back to us, to the coastal areas, to those small communities. We don't have ways to make a livelihood, and although this is true, Chile and Latin America, and we've been facing it, but I insist, it has to be amongst all of us. They do not report what they fish, what they do, how they do it, where they do it, how they process it, and where it's going. Because in our countries, we are not eating product from our own coastal areas, but we're eating introduced poor quality fish species. Let's go ahead. The topics across the board, food security, we belong to CODEMA, which is the the channel that that faces everything having to do with food security and environmental security, overcoming poverty, together with CONAPAC. And this is also part of the ULAPA, because all communities need to ensure food for the future, and we need to ensure the environmental topics so that we can keep on working. And most of all, if it is this kind of development in order to overcome poverty, these are key topics for us, artisanal fishermen and women, for farmers, those of us who produce food. I think we need to focus our thinking, our capabilities on these three topics: food security, environmental security, local development, and alleviation of poverty. As CONAPAC, we're working on two major challenges. It is not a secret that Chile is undergoing the development of a new constitution, the new charter for our country, and Chilean artisanal fisheries is focused on the fact that in this new political constitution, if you can go to the next slide, please, this constitution should include the idea that we can have our sea as part of the constitution, because they removed it from the previous constitution. We still don't know why they did that. And the other topic is the Ministry of the Sea. It can, with more than almost 5,000 kilometers of coastal areas, it's not possible that we do not have something that, or a legal entity that guides it. We do not have a Ministry of the Sea. Our idea is, as artisanal fisheries, an agency to resort to among all artisanal fishermen and women are fighting to obtain this goal. But also our political constitution that will rule us should include the sea as part of this charter. But you know what my concern is as a artisanal fisherwoman? Nobody's paying attention to the sea.
Señora Zoila, ¿está por ahí?
Mrs. Bustamante, are you there?
Sí, parece que tuvimos un problema con la conexión de la
There
señora.
seems to be a connection problem with Mrs. Bustamante.
Vamos a esperar unos segundos a ver si puede volver a conectarse.
Let's see if she can get connected again. If not, we can offer the floor to her so that she can finish her remarks.
Martina, continuemos por favor con el siguiente panelista.
Martina, let's go to the next activity. So we are going to continue with the agenda. We'd like to thank you for your analysis and your thoughts. As you said, excuse me, and we need to take these topics through the support of all stakeholders. We'd now like to offer the floor to Mr. Hilarión Gaona. Mrs. Bustamante, are you there? Excuse me, I lost service. I'd like to just apologize, and just in closing, the message of this humble fisherwoman is that we must all get united. We cannot hear you, I'm sorry.
Disculpen, Martina tiene también inconvenientes con...
Martina,
adelante.
Mrs. Bustamante, can you please go on with your presentation?
Señora Zoila. Vamos a seguir entonces con la agenda y luego podemos...
Okay, we will continue with the agenda. We can go back to Mrs. Bustamante for her final remarks. We'd like to offer the floor to Mr. Hilarión Gaona, who is the chairman of the Coordinadora de Juan León Mallorquín and representative of the Alto Paraná Aquaculture in Paraguay. Mr. Gaona, you have 10 minutes. Good morning, everyone. We are very concerned because of sustainable food security. That's why we try to help small producers. Right now, we are working, teaching Mr. Gaona. Mr. Gaona, we cannot hear you. Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Señor Hilario, continúe con su
Yes,
presentación.
Mr. Gaona, go ahead with your presentation.
Mostrando cómo se estamos trabajando en este momento con los pequeños productores.
With the small producers, we are in the city of Aguadón, of the central zone of Paraguay, and we are harvesting and then we reprocess this product. These are small producers. We are harvesting fish, cachamba, that's the name of, we call it pacu, and tilapia with small producers. Once it's harvested, we help them. We help people so they can cook, because the bottleneck that exists right now is the market where families buy their food. We take it to the markets, and using live weight, well, that is not a significant profit if we want to make a living. And we are teaching some of our associates in aquaculture efforts in Paraguay. We've been visiting this area for 1 month already and teaching them how to cook and how to prepare the food. Artisanal foodstuffs that we work with, and thanks to FAO that has been supporting us since 2014 and 15. And now we have raised our flag of, how can you call this, of sustainable food security, because we know in South America, especially in Paraguay, rural Paraguay, there's lots of people who eat very poorly. That's why we are raising that flag of helping these people so that they may lead a better life. That is our objective. And we are helping from anywhere, really. Now we have received the support of the EU through GEZ, and we are helping small producers to prepare their own food and to put elaborate products on the market.
Hola.
Muchas gracias, don.
Thank you, Hilarion.
Muchas gracias, señor Hilarión.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gaona. Fishing in aquaculture in Latin America generates more than 2.6 million direct jobs and 3 times that number of indirect jobs. Almost 90% of direct jobs by the fishing sector is associated with artisanal fisheries. And okay, Martina, go ahead, please. And I'm sorry for my lack of connectivity. There's issues with this virtual meeting. Thank you, Mr. Gaona, as our colleague. Almost 90% of all employment generated by the fishing sector is associated with artisanal fisheries. And now we're going to introduce an FAO video about fisheries and artisanal fisheries and aquaculture in Latin America and the Caribbean. Latin America and the Caribbean, the sector generates more than 2.6 million jobs, and almost 90% of the direct jobs and indirect jobs are related to artisanal fisheries. Multiple projects in the region promote sustainable artisanal fisheries. FAO supports fishermen and fisherwomen in Latin America and the Caribbean to improve their practices, increasing sustainability and resilience. In the International Year of Artisanal Aquaculture and Fishing 2022, FAU reaffirms the importance of artisanal fisheries and aquaculture for our agri-food systems and livelihoods and our culture in our efforts to safeguard biodiversity and the environment.
Y en esta segunda sesión,
And in this second session of the event, we will introduce testimonials from 6 panelists on the innovative capacity of small-scale fisheries and aquaculture in the context of sustainable development. Note that you'll have a maximum of 10 minutes to share your experience. Please stick to that agenda in order to meet the schedule, and we do apologize if we need to interrupt you. I'd like to offer the floor to Mr. Adrian Lorota, who is the chairman of the Caribbean Network of Fishermen's Organizations. Mr. Lorota, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Señor Adrián, ¿nos escucha?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Mr. Lorota, can you hear us?
Okay, I can. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, everybody can hear you, Sir Lorota.
Okay, excellent. I apologize. I didn't have the English translation, and I know I heard my name, but I have to brush up on my Spanish. Good morning, everyone. It's good to be here again for the regional launch of IYAFA, the International Year of Artisanal Fisheries. I am Adrian Lorota. I represent the Caribbean region, which is the Caribbean Network of Fisherfolk Organizations. And we comprise the 17, our membership comprises the 17 CARICOM countries, from the Bahamas all the way down to Trinidad and Tobago. I guess in most instances, it could be referred to as the Greater and Lesser Antilles. Protocol having already been established, and with this from the international launch, just want to say that the question that we were asked is, how could IYAFA be a game changer to advance and maximize the contribution of the small-scale fisheries subsector? As CNFO, we want to place this in what we understand, what we experience, and what we generally obtain. That is increasing social benefits, because of conservation and other natural resources. The unsustainability in our knowledge and experience affirms sustainability in any ecosystem inventory of any Caribbean ecosystem, where goods and services, we will find that there are more fisheries resources that are underutilized or unutilized than those which are actively utilized in fisheries. IYAFA can highlight and bring into the public view a more reasonable and accurate narrative of what is available and what are the contributions of the fisheries resources to the societal good. IYAFA can promote value chain enhancements to bring a wider variety of SSF fishery products, also promoting no waste value chain systems. Small-scale fisheries have room to develop in terms of ecosystem, food services, and food production. We have developed a narrative that is responsive to SSF, ignoring its potential for sustainable development and expansion by way of diversification of fisheries and promoting the utilization of underutilized and unutilized fisheries resources. These potentials offer great opportunities for youth and women to seek livelihood and opportunities within the SSF. Also, IYAFA can highlight challenges to SSF and the ecosystems we rely on, such as land-based pollution, mining, oil and gas, large-scale intensive aquaculture, coastal development, and conservation measures that are unreasonable and irresponsible, especially with the marine spatial planning, the marine protected areas that lock away resources that bring societal benefits like food and nutrition security and livelihoods to the context of responsible stewardship. IYAFA can promote the increase of primary stakeholders in the government and governance structures, sending clear messages to all levels of fisheries governance, local and global, including COFI, that there are very limited formal arrangements where SSF are positioned to directly impact the decision-making processes, where their input must be reflected in the decisions made. Ensuring that development initiatives with the potential to impact fisheries ecosystems, goods, and services must at all times include active participation of fishing stakeholders, and their input must be reflected in these decision-making processes. We as CNFO, we will support the initiatives of this year and through the work of IYAFA, because we look forward to this year being International Year for Artisanal Fisheries, as 99% of our fishers and fishers in the in the Caribbean region are basically artisanal fisheries. Day fishers, close proximity fishers. So through CNFO, we want to be the greater voice in participating in these initiatives, and we look forward to a successful year and a greater understanding of small-scale fisheries through the implementation of the small-scale fisheries guidelines and other CNFO initiatives. And I want to bring to your attention too a very, very impactful initiative that has been taking place by CNFO, which is our Learning Institute. And for those present, we would like you to understand more about CNFO. You can go to our website, and maybe you would be interested in seeing what our Learning Institute have to offer in terms of fisheries training and collaboration in the SSF guidelines. Thank you. And short, brief, I hope I'm able to represent the Caribbean region as well as I think I should. Thank you all.
Muchas gracias, señor Adrián.
Thank you, Adrian, for providing us with the vision of the Caribbean Network of Fisheries. Now, allow me to give the floor to Felipe Mata, who has been a small-scale mussel producer for 10 years in Brazil. Go ahead, Felipe.
Hello, Martina. Thank you very much for this invitation for the virtual lunch for the International Year of Small-Scale Fishermen and Aquaculture. I would like to share here a bit of the experience that we are having here in Brazil with the small-scale mollusk farming. So next one, please. So Santa Catarina state is in South Brazil, is where is concentrated all the shellfish in terms of mollusks production in this country. About 99% of oysters and mussels are produced in Santa Catarina state. We have here hundreds of small-scale farmers that are producing about 12,000 tons of mussels and about 3,000 tons of oysters per year. But this number was much bigger 10 years ago. It was about 800 farmers. So because of lack of competitiveness due to low mechanization level or even incapacity to comply with sanitary regulations like processing with in premises with sanitary inspection. So these have been reducing the number of farmers. Next one. So here is a video about my initiative that being supported by Uplink. I think there's some music, if possible. continue my presentation. Yes. So to attain this and superate these problems, we have been strategic in planning. FAO produced a lot of knowledge and guidelines for the member countries, and we use these like this fall technical fisheries paper, aquaculture planning guidelines to produce a strategic plan for sustainable development of mariculture in Santa Catarina for the next decade, 2018-2028. This process was participatory and took 2 years to develop a strategic plan. That is now, this was made through the mariculture sectoral chamber, which I'm the secretary. So it was reinstalled, and this chamber is where all the policy for the sector is discussed at state level. The next one, please. So the main aspects of this strategic plan is, first, we need to orderly occupation of the leases. You can see here on the left how it was a bit messy in terms of visual pollution, a lot of plastic. And now in the photograph below, we can see how they are using new floats to reduce visual impact and less plastic debris in the sea. Also, with the state agencies, we are doing an environmental monitoring following standards from the Aquaculture Stewardship Council in terms for certification of sustainable shellfish farming, bivalve farming. Mechanization of mussel farms, we've been developing machines and also promoting integration between barges and processors and small-scale farmers. Also, processing mollusks in facilities with sanitary inspections, so outsourced for small-scale farmers that don't have facilities. Other companies are outsourcing these services for them. And we are developing this traceability of all shellfish from farm to and consumers. And all this is supported by a collective trademark, Molluscos de Santa Catarina, that is already known in Brazil, but we don't use this as a trademark. Next one. So here we see all the state agencies and institutions that have something to do with shellfish farming in Brazil, in Santa Catarina. And there was a lot of waste of efforts, both in terms of financial and human resources that are wasted or duplicated efforts. So now we have all these institutions working together, rowing in one direction in the same canoe. Next one, please. So the question that the organizers proposed to me is how small-scale aquaculture can cope with these different challenges from COVID, like the use of electronic marketing for their products. And this was the question that was proposed to me, and here show an example of small-scale oyster farmer, Felipe and his wife. They don't have employees, they're just them. And they have this insulated car where they distribute their oil in the Santa Catarina Island. And all their sales are being done through electronic marketing, like iFoods or similar platforms, applications. So like them, there are many others that are using these. And Felipe is also one that is use outsourced sanitary inspections for his products. So this is a perfect example of how small-scale aquaculture can be prepared for future external shocks like this. The integration and with processing companies of outsourcing these sanitary inspection services, together with traceability and electronic marketing is a good way to be prepared for this. Thank you very much. Next one. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, señor Felipe Matarazzo. Muy interesante también conocer un poco más del
Thank you,
trabajo.
Felipe Mata. So it's very interesting to see what you are doing with mussels and mollusks in Santa Catarina in Brazil. Now, let me get the floor to Melanie Andrews. She's a technical officer of the Caribbean Natural Resources Institute. Go ahead, Melanie.
Thank you, Martina, and thank you to FAO and the WCAFC for the opportunity to be a part of the regional launch of IYAFA 2022 for the Latin American Caribbean region. Should I go ahead and share my presentation?
Yes, I can help you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Martina. So the title of my presentation today is Supporting Capacity Building of Caribbean Fisherfolk and Their Organizations. And the title is in part a response to the question that I was given for today's discussion. Next slide. So the question was, enhancing the support to artisanal fisheries and aquaculture, in particular empowering women and youth through knowledge building and skills development, can make a significant difference in fostering the sustainability of their operations. What role do you think your organization can play in stimulating partnerships and collaborative initiatives in this regard? So my presentation today will really focus on two strategies that my organization, Canary, uses in supporting capacity building of Caribbean small-scale fisherfolk organizations. And I'll briefly highlight how I think these strategies stimulate partnerships and collaborative initiatives. Next slide, please. So just to get started, Canary is a civil society organization, and we believe in working with and strengthening other civil society organizations. So we believe that fisherfolk need to have strong organizations if they are going to play an effective role in participatory fisheries governance and management. And I think we all know and can agree that organizational strengthening is a process that takes time and it requires more than simply training. So training can often be, these one-off events, and they may not always be necessarily tailored to meet the needs of the target audience for the training. So the two strategies that I will speak on are mentoring and small grants. And these are two strategies that we use to build the capacity of fisherfolk and their organizations. And we believe that these are slower processes. They go a little deeper, and they have the opportunity to be tailored to the needs of the fisherfolk organizations that we work with. Additionally, I would like to say that I know we use the terms capacity and capacity building quite a lot. Canary has very specific criteria how we define what capacity and capacity building is. And one aspect of that is strengthening linkages. So linkages look at developing and managing relationships between individuals, groups, and organizations. So reflecting back on the question, again, very much related to stimulating partnerships and collaboration. And just before I move on, I would like to say as well that in our projects that we work on with fisherfolk, we also take a partnership approach. So Canary typically implements our projects in partnership with academia. We work quite a bit with the University of the West Indies. We also work with our intergovernmental organizations, so the Caribbean Regional Fisheries Mechanism. And of course, we work a lot with our regional fisherfolk organization, the CNFO, Adrian's organization. So next slide, please. So in terms of the first strategy, mentoring, next slide. Mentoring is a long-term approach to capacity building where mentors develop close working relationships with their mentees to provide the sustained and responsive support needed for the development of fisherfolk organizations. So typically in our regional fisherfolk projects, we include a mentoring program. And as part of this mentoring program, what Canary does is we'll select mentors from different sectors, from civil society, from government, from intergovernmental organizations, and we'll match them with a local fisherfolk organization in their country. And Canary will train and support mentors to and then support their mentee fisherfolk organizations. So how we think this mentoring promotes partnerships is that over the life of a project, and our projects are typically 3 to 4 year projects, this mentor and mentee will work together. The mentor will, with support from Canary, do a needs assessment of the fisherfolk organization, understand, well, what areas do they need strengthening, what areas are they performing well in. So for example, an organization might need board strengthening, it might need capacity building and financial management, and the mentor could provide that support. But importantly, for example, if a mentor is from a civil society organization, you find that now that there's a closer relationship, they have a better understanding, a better appreciation for the fisherfolk organization. And through their relationship, they can then take back to their own civil society organization and say, you know, I understand this or the fisherfolk organization's needs, and I think I know how our organization can better support them. And so we think that provides an opportunity for a mentor to even continue being a mentor beyond the life of a project. Next slide, please. So the next strategy that we use is small grants. So again, as part of our projects, we typically include a small grant program. And through our small grant programs, we are able to provide a pot of funds that is accessible by our target fisherfolk organizations that we work with. And our fisherfolk can apply for funding from the program, and the way that the mentoring program and small grant programs are typically linked is that the mentors can then provide support to the fisherfolk to submit applications to the program, to the small grant program. And this is a way of building their capacity for proposal writing and fundraising. So the way that we think these small grants facilitate collaborative initiatives is that we actually very much encourage applications that include partnerships. So we encourage the fisherfolk organizations to identify government agencies, civil society organizations, private sector organizations that they can work with on their projects, whatever the topic is, what is most appropriate. So they might work with a Department of Fisheries, Department of Cooperatives, or some conservation or biodiversity civil society organization in their country. And through these types of partnerships, you see relationship building, you see the sharing of information, sharing of resources, and importantly, the building of trust. What we have found in our work is that fisherfolk organizations tend to be beneficiaries of projects, which is not a bad thing, but they are less likely to be partners or feel like equal partners or even leaders of their own initiatives. And so the small grant programs that we utilize in our projects give fisherfolk organizations the opportunity to be leaders of their projects and decide who they want to partner with. And just some feedback from one of our most recent projects from the FAO Steward Fish project, a lot of the fisherfolk organizations who we worked with reported, feeling like their projects were really successful because of their partnerships. And even as well, we hear feedback from the partners that they work with in saying, they were impressed or encouraged by, the work that the fisherfolk did. And they're really, as I said, impressed that, they could lead such an initiative. So I think these strategies offer opportunities for actors to work together, build their relationships, and see a new side of each other. So through these projects and through these partnerships and these small grant projects, the hope, of course, is that these partners will want to continue to work together and support each other, and the partners would support the fisherfolk organizations with their capacity building. So those are the two strategies, next slide, that I just wanted to share. Yeah, so just thank you very much. We do use other strategies in our work, and I do invite you to visit CANARI's website if you'd like to learn more. We also have a few toolkits for those organizations who work with civil society organizations as well, including fisherfolk. So thank you.
Muchas gracias, señora Melanie Andrews, por
Thank
darnos
you,
la visión.
Mrs. Andrews, for giving us the vision of the Natural Resources Institute of the Caribbean. I'd like to tell you we have close to 300 people who are following our broadcasting through the different networks. And please keep discussing through ATA, Pesca, Acuicultura Artesanal, and with the acronym of the International Year of Artisanal Fisheries and Aquaculture, which is IYAFA 2022. Now we'd like to invite Mrs. Deborah Garcia. She's the manager and founder of Cooperativa Acuipesca Tongoy Mujeres. Please, the floor is yours.
Hola, muy buenos días a todos.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the invitation, for being here. We're really happy to be a part of this wonderful event, which is telling us that right now we are visible to the whole world. Let me tell you that I'm going to do my presentation. The key role of women in artisanal or small-scale fishing and aquaculture. My name is Deborah Garcia. I have 4 kids. I'm an artisanal fisherwoman. I live in Tongoy, Chile, with 25 years of experience in fishing and aquaculture. More than 15 years in aquaculture, we have gone through different phases, and an important phase has been to be working in a hatchery in the reproduction of larvae and juvenile fish with a recirculation system on the ground. An incredible experience, especially for me, of being able to work with a resource that needs to be developed as we speak. And we know that it is important. Agriculture is important in the world, and it is not that we women can actually highlight the fact that we can also grow these species. I am also a member of the Tongoy Fisher Folk Association, and I've been for many years, and we've also founded a cooperative that is called Acuipesca Tongoy Mujeres. Right now, we are growing Japanese oysters in Tongoy, and an incredible experience that has given us the tools to be able to understand what growing this species is. We've been working for 2.5 years, working with Japanese oysters, with my girls, as I call them. It's 5 of us, 5 women that have more than 20 years of experience. 2.5 years we started. We've been made visible in a different way, we women, because in the past we only went out to sea with our husbands or supporting our uncles or relatives, female, but to being assistants. We are our own bosses now. We have all the knowledge to be able to start this activity from the beginning up until the end. And we have acquired a different vision of being artisanal fisherwomen to become aquaculture specialists. Just 1 second, we're only seeing the first slide of your presentation. You can stop sharing and I can share your presentation and I can click through it. Let's do it that way. Yes. I thought it was going through it, we cannot see it, but now we're going to share it. Okay.
Sí, contarles además que
Yeah, let me tell you that we're really happy in our bay. We have a very rich bay full of nutrients. We're so happy to realize that we can do this, and that's so important. We believe in ourselves, and that's why we're here, and we're so happy. Can you see it now? Yeah. Yeah, we can see it now. All right. The next slide, please. Well, this is what we just saw. It's 5 of us, as I said, 5 women in this Japanese oysters. We received training from FAO. It is important what FAO is doing in fishing and aquaculture. It is an extremely important work that they're doing, which is providing us with the tools to go a step beyond small-scale fishing and to become aquaculture specialists. The next one, we are trying to answer this important question, the challenges for women in artisanal aquaculture and fishing. For women in fishing and aquaculture, it is very important that we can go from being artisanal fisherwomen to become aquaculture specialists. We can be responsible in growing our seas with a clean view, and I believe we have the capability to do that. We are able to do that. If you can click through this, please. Why we think we can address this challenge, which is going from fishing to into aquaculture, because on top of us we have climate change, as Soila said, that it is the climate change is on our shoulders already, and right now we have realized that we must change the way we operate in terms of resource over exploitation. Resource over exploitation, resources are very limited because unfortunately we have not taken care of our resources overall. It's very important that we can say, we can do this, we can be clean in taking care of our seas, and at the same time we can grow species responsibly and sustainably, and we need to be able to do that.
And we have been transformed from fishermen, fisherwomen instead, to experts. And how have we done that? Well, we've actually had to boost our preparation and our skills, and we need governments and others to provide us with these skills, to allow us to take part in training so that we can actually boost our income, so that in turn we can expand our perspective to ensure clean, sustainable, accountable production. Also, it's important to make sure that there are government, state tools available to us. The states and governments must include programs such as this one, oriented at women. And the programs may be there, but unfortunately, women are not always recognized or seen. And what we need is for programs and projects to be specifically aimed at women. And there must be tax benefits as well. We need to invoice, and we need to provide official information to the government. And we as women are very organized. We are in charge of our household accounting and household spending. And so we are by default trained to do so. So we do that at work as well. And I'm sure that with the female perspective, our fishery will be organized, responsible, and entirely safe. It's also important to point out that women who are trained in Latin America have become benchmarks. Now, that's interesting because we are trained in Latin America and around the world we're trained so well that we can actually speak with other women and teach other women around the world to understand that, yes, we can do that. We can do it and you can do it. And that we are trained to pull ourselves up and no one has to tell us how to do that. We know how to do that on our own. And I'm sure that women can really do this and be the example. Women who already work in the ocean along the coastline want to do more, and we're trained to do that. So I think that is the major challenge that women face in this sector, that is to move from being artisanal fisherwomen to experts in aquaculture. Opportunities. We have many opportunities out there, and we really need to grab those opportunities by the horns. And it's very important that we do that. Governments, states need to recognize women as valid artisanal fisherwomen and aquaculturists. Now, gender equality is required. It's very important that we find gender equality between men and women in this sector, and we need to have the necessary tools so that we can be on top and no longer on bottom. And it's important to value women's skills and knowledge in the sector. For example, when we receive the fish, the scallops, what have you, seafood, generally what we do is we prepare it and then we have a value chain. We are part of this value chain. But we need to have our own value chain, starting from the harvesting process. We are fully prepared to bring this harvest to market and ourselves sell to the final consumer. We don't need any middleman to do this. And so we need to do this ourselves from start to finish and sell the products to the final consumer. We are fully prepared to do this, and we know we can. Food and nutrition security for women and the country. Now, I think there's no better candidate than women to do this. We know exactly what our children and our family need. We can bring home the bacon and bring home the fish. And we can contribute more money, more resources to our families so that our families can grow and evolve. And I'm fully convinced that we have the ability and the capacity to do so. And the governments and states need to support us and provide us with more capacity so that we can feed our own families. Next slide, please. Here I have some conclusions. Women have a mission to focus on sustainability. It's so important. That word is a must. Also, an environmental approach, socioeconomic approach. These are key as well. Sustainability needs to be a part of our daily lives, and environmental concern also needs to be a part of what we do. We need to take care of our own ocean and our own coast, and we need to adopt clean, sustainable, renewable production techniques. This is so important, and I'm fully sure that women in this sector already do that, and that's where we're headed. That's what we've been doing because we have gained awareness. Women, I'm sure of it, actually, were those who were first aware, because we know it's necessary to take care of our ocean and our coastlines for our future generations. I really would like for my children, my daughters, to inherit a clean environment. And we are here to make sure that the coming generations will have the resources they need and that they will be able to address the oceans and the coasts with an entirely different perspective. Gender equality as a full exercise of our rights. What about that? That is fabulous. A few years ago, we were just fighting the fight. It was very difficult for us to make any headway, but today we can. It's possible because we do have gender equality, and slowly but surely we are working toward that goal. Full exercise of our rights. This is crucial for the sustainable development of fisheries and aquaculture, and women will significantly contribute to this in all the various processes from A to Z, from harvest to the final sale. We are prepared to do this. We are trained, skilled, and we believe in ourselves. And that really is what we need to ensure that all women working in the sector believe. So once again, we're prepared, it's skilled, and we have a sustainable, clean approach. So let's keep doing what we're doing, and let's move toward garnering the support of everyone out there capable of supporting us so that we will continue to make progress. Next slide, please. Rural women, women with rights. We want nothing more than to strive. We have the experience and the skills, and it's of crucial importance that today women recognize what we know. I know how to do this. I can do this, and that's what I'm going to do. And if we do that, I'm sure that we will be successful. Of course, there's a great deal for us to do in this sector. Nonetheless, we're here, and I wanted to thank you all for allowing me to speak here today, for making us known. FAO has constantly provided key support for making this sector more visible. Thank you so much.
Muchas gracias, señora Débora, por la intervención.
Thank you, Deborah, for your comments. Thank you for talking a bit more about what you're doing with your sector. We know that you play a key role in this sector. Now we will hear from a young representative from Costa Rica, an environmental activist from Tremendas, Ángela Delgado. You have the floor. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Martina, are you going to help me with the slide, with the presentation? Yes.
Bueno, mi nombre es Ángela Delgado.
My name is Ángela Delgado. I'm 16. I live in Costa Rica, and I am an environmental activist. Now, I'm sure it's strange for you to see that a lot of us young people feel the need to be environmental activists. We are really the last line of defense to mitigate climate change impacts. Now, we are young people, and it's painful because taking control of change is really our last chance to change the world, to make this place a better world for the future generations. Now, in that regard, artisanal fisheries and aquaculture and sustainable and environmentally rigorous work is all key for the future. That's why I was very pleased to be invited to speak here. I am a member of Tremendas, an organization with young female representatives, and we try to create better awareness with regard and training with regard to the environment. And then we work on the Climate Reality Project. This is an organization, a nonprofit organization that's involved in educating and fostering information on climate change. And I have acquired many skills and tools. And as such, I've created greater awareness at my school and among my friends. And it might not seem that much, but I have been provided with skills to really change people's perspectives. And this will enable me to make significant change, particularly in the sector of artisanal fisheries and aquaculture. Now, one of my goals is to continue growing as an environmental activist and to bring about positive change through my activism. Now, for quite a while, I've been very much interested in nature and environmental activism. I'm concerned because I saw that many adults weren't as concerned as I was, and that's how I became increasingly involved. I still think it's very difficult to understand how some people are entirely indifferent to what's going on. Now, it's quite a privilege to be an activist in Costa Rica because we are a global benchmark for other countries in terms of our environmental activism. Now, the environmental payment for services program has been in place in our country for 20 years now and provides financial recognition, state financial recognition to small and medium-sized landowners and forests and forestry plantations for CO2 storage and sequestering. Now, this program has seen a significant increase in its resources since 1980. And recently, there's a new version of this system, PSA, that seeks to include caring for and recovering soils that have been degraded. And this is carried out through recarbonization. This is carried out with FAO. Now, we are working on all of these efforts. Artisanal fisheries and aquaculture in Latin America and the Caribbean bring about 2.8 million direct jobs, and according to FAO, and 3 times the number of indirect jobs. Now, at least 16% of the jobs related to fishing are held by women. And I think that artisanal fisheries are providing a significant source of employment for women in the field, women who, a field that's always been actually dominated by men. Now, despite these accomplishments, it's important to point out some of the challenges and solutions for the sector. As already mentioned, we know the sector constitutes a significant source of employment for women. It's for all people, and for women in particular, it's an opportunity for women as well to get involved. Now, there is a risk. The challenge is that this is an area where large companies have taken over, and it's easier for the small ones to sell to the large ones. Some of the solutions for this could include doing away with biases and purchasing and making sure that all of the parties actually focus on environmental concerns and not just making buck. Now, artisanal fisheries is much less polluting. We know that too, so that is key. And in helping artisanal fisheries, you are helping women as well, and other small families. Now, women have carried out this job for a while, and I think we need to find a balance in every aspect. We need to help them with jobs, and we also need to make sure we do not decimate the source of our income and prosperity. Now, I am an activist, as I've mentioned, and I have been exposed to a variety of different, we could say, tedious situations. I am very much concerned with the environment, and I tend to discuss this topic with my family and others. And although it is necessary to respect opinions that are different than our own, we need to speak up when we feel it's necessary. Now, it's been very exciting to be an environmental activist. Sometimes I am also afraid, but I constantly struggle to fight to make sure that my beliefs are understood. And it was very important when I finally realized that I am being heard and listened to. I like that individuals are willing to listen to me. Maybe we can be accused of being intense or dramatic. That's a stigma. But nonetheless, I'm here to make a difference. Being an activist has the best thing that's ever happened to me. And there are challenges as well. There is a great deal of bias and judgment, and not everything smells like roses, but it's still worthwhile. And when you set a goal and you achieve that goal, you're really bringing about change. So it's important to bear in mind, be aware of our capacity. And as young people, we need to believe in ourselves. Often we're told that we're truly dramatic or exaggerating, but we still need to keep moving forward with this attitude because it's definitely worthwhile.
Thank you, Angela, for your kind presentation and for making us think about the role of the youth, boys and girls in the future, because the change has to happen now, because there's no more time. Let me tell you that almost 1,000 people are connected to our session, to our different channels. We are broadcasting our event through FAO YouTube channels in Spanish, English, and French. Also through Twitter, FAO in the Caribbean, Haiti, and FAO Americas, so you can follow the tool, this broadcast with the different hashtags and acronyms that are available to do it. Next, we'd like to offer the floor to Mrs. Alejandra Karevich. She is a senior professional at Fundación Chinquihue, Chile. Mrs. Karevich, please go ahead. Thank you. If we can see the presentation, please. As a representative of Chinquihue, that it is an honor to be part of the launch of the International Year of Small-Scale Aquaculture and Fisheries, as we call it in Chile, because it highlights the importance of artisanal fisheries, employment, culture, income, etc. We are going to develop the context of the management of resources and value for everyone, the national context in which the small-scale artisanal fishing takes place in Chile, more than 83,000 kilometers of coastal areas, more than 555 fishermen coves, artisanal ones, more than 96,000 people registered, 25% are women, more than 13,000 artisanal vessels, and a set of figures that are associated to the importance of artisanal fishing and small-scale aquaculture in our country. We are in Los Lagos, but we work nationwide as Chinquihue Foundation. Next one. Fundación Chinquihue has 32 years of existence. It was founded from a JICA contribution to the regional government of Los Lagos. It has a board of directors with representatives of the different institutions and of the artisanal fishing sector, which is fundamental for us. Its vision is to contribute to generate development strategies and to generate policy that support the development of this industry focused on fishermen coves, territories, sustainability, and safety in extractive fishing management areas, small-scale aquaculture, sustainable and diversified, adding value, productive formalization, and to guarantee food safety, to contribute to commercialization, technical logistics, and support, and participating in the governance of the resources that they work with. Here in the different pictures, it's a fishing compound. It has a port facility that provides landing services, loading services, a technical institution to exchange competencies, and in the area that I work with, which is the Innovation and Development Department. Next one, please. The questions that we were supposed to answer are related to Pillar 1 and Pillar 2 of the Action Plan of the International Year of Small-Scale Fisheries and Aquaculture. First one has to do with environmental sustainability, and Pillar 2 relates to economic sustainability. Number 1 has to do with biodiversity, sustainable use, and to ensure the survival of fisheries and aquaculture. The second one, access to markets, or an equitable distribution of revenues along the value chain. Chile is not, also Chile, in this type of chains, those who make more are not necessarily the primary producer, the ones who extract the resources, but usually intermediaries make the most revenues. And that is a way, we would like to change that. Next one, please. For Fundación Chinquehue, Fishermen Coves is the territorial base, and it you see extractive activity, also harvests are landed, and different activities that take place having to do with artisanal fishing, all different types of works and other services, and others that are supplementary, related directly or indirectly, which are productive, commercial, such as selling posts, recreational fishing, astronomy, parking, others, tourism, and those of transforming resources. For that, the Chilean state, a while ago in 2017, implemented the Fishermen Coves legislation, so that these 555 coves have a management plan, a contingency plan that gets them ready in case of emergencies in the environment, to develop strategic plans that are participatory, short, medium, and long-term, that strengthen resilience of these coves and contribute to their diversification. And most of all, these pillars consider economic social and environmental self-sustainability. Fishermen and women must manage their own coves and decide about the future and how it will operate. Next one, please. In order to answer the question, Fundación Chinquihue has 5 or 6 strategies. The first one in Chile, or many years ago, with the legislation, the benthic resources exploitation and management areas. They could request their management with a certain surface that they could manage. They can even conduct aquaculture activities today, and they require a base study, a management plan, follow-up plans, technical advisory. And in our work throughout all these years, we've been supporting and developing each one of these strategies. These are the services having to do with sampling, quota determination, issuance of reports, so that fishermen and women can harvest in an area. They must issue a follow-up report and to submit it to different institutions who must approve the harvesting of such quota. There are projects to determine seed collection areas in order to populate these management areas. The next one, please. Another activity is the support the development and innovation of small-scale aquaculture. We have Aqualab, which is a hatchery that develops different growing stages to feed. There's a microalgae growing project for markers. One of the major problems of mytiliculture is the mixing of seeds that take away weight, they lower the value of the supply when they want to sell collectors. We have worked with monoclonal antibodies and markers to differentiate when it's a mussel or other species. We also have an outreach center, scientific outreach center with professionals who visit the field that propose improvements of the way these centers work, and they suggest equipment that is necessary. They also support the marketing of these small-scale producers. We also have a large number of algae producers, specifically producing Berligue, and there's a certification program for algae that contribute to foster the seeding so that they can keep working in the coming growing cycles. Next one, please. We have developed projects to support the intervention in the value chain through adding value to the resources that are extracted. The foundation has a prototype center to develop new products and to train women who usually add value to these chains. Support to formalization. Here you can see, for example, a container that is being implemented in several coves so that women, mainly as micro enterprises, can obtain their health authority permits so they can formally sell their products. Best practices in manufacturing with training are fostered with adequate equipment, fostering quality, food safety, healthy food. This is a lady in a cove that receives support equipment. In the case of the first picture, there's a diver who's showing Loco, a resource, and through a project funded by Corfo in Chile, the first fair trade certification in Latin America was obtained for this resource. The problem is that the values, in order to remain within the standards, audits are quite complex. So this sector requires that the institution generate tools that can support the implementation and the audits that are required. Usually once a year, and we'll talk about thousands of dollars that are involved. Working in the value chain must have a gender approach because fisher folk go out to the sea, and there are many women involved, 24% of the labor force. But those who work in the chain after that are generally women. The pictures that you can see in the center, it's a project with organic agar. Coming from these organizations, and the idea is for these types of products in a project that we are developing right now. The next one. Fundación Chinquihue, for several years, has been supporting governance and the involvement of artisanal fisher folk, especially their participation in governance through management committees that the legislation has implemented, in which fisher folk can provide their opinions and make suggestions and to request training. The idea is to feeding or repopulation of certain areas, and the foundation supports the logistics and with state funding as well. Public-private panels where to hear the voice of fishermen and women, and the idea is to accept opinions, and not everything has to be 100% technical, or the idea is for the fishermen and women voice to be heard. That's why they receive advisory and technical workshops, and participation of this sector is fostered in this management committees. Next one, please.
Contribuir a la diversificación de la actividad pesquera y la cultura pesquera.
Diversifying small-scale fisheries activities by including whale watching or other types of bird watching, special tourism types, foodie tours, or types of culinary tours. In southern Chile, our meals are really very well known, curanto or other seafood products, for example. We could also have a tourism at the coves, including cultural, religious, or production-related aspects, and supporting artisanal fisheries has been carried out by way of improvements that improve fishing gear or provide safer equipment, refurbished equipments, and ensuring that there are more environmentally friendly, wildlife friendly techniques. We have also worked with strategic planning tools that better allow us to develop the overall coastal territory or specific coves, for example. We've been working on this for 32 years. These are several examples of how we have been able to provide support. Next slide, please. Once again, final recommendation is that our foundation, the Kiwe Foundation, aims to strengthen artisanal fisheries and aquaculture, small-scale aquaculture as well, so that the work is focused on creating opportunities and leveraging each sector. We must not have a short-term approach. We need to focus on strategies, governmental and non-governmental strategies that aim to provide tools for innovation and diversification and actually reconversion if that's necessary, to reconvert the artisanal fisheries and focus on further developing small-scale actions. Thank you. Thank you, Alejandra, for your remarks. Thank you for talking a bit more about what the foundation does. Now we will move on to the third and last session of our webinar, and I would like to begin with a short video where we explain why artisanal fisheries and aquaculture are important.
They are important because they are part of the solutions that we need to address global fisheries problems.
They are critical for food security and nutrition, for local and national economies, and biodiversity and climate resilience.
The sector is especially important in developing countries where over more than 90% of the fishers are small-scale fishers, an important component of its value chains, and many women it employs.
I think IYAFA should be every day, should be celebrated, right? Because fish is so important, because fish has a place in the human diet in the coming decades, and we need more fish.
We need to do more in terms of raise awareness about small-scale fisheries and really elevate their value.
For Indonesia, celebrating IYAFA is not a one-time event. We also celebrate IYAFA by continuing to mobilize international efforts to prevent, deter, and eliminate IUU fishing.
InFish will use this year-long celebration to help raise the profile of inland fish to inform policy, advance conservation, promote sustainable inland fisheries.
I guess the most important part in celebrating this event, we should focus more in terms of, first of all, creating awareness, especially now with talks of blue economy. We have to ensure that we sustainably exploit the marine resources.
We also need to take other actions, and I would like us to see at the end of the year that we've done, or the year has done more than just raising profile. Some real concrete achievements and actions, and so everyone involved can end the year with a sense of impact and positive outcomes for small-scale fisheries and small-scale aquaculture, and ideally laying a foundation for a more promising future.
Let us celebrate IYAFA 2022. Small in scale, but big in value.
La pesca artesanal proporciona hasta el 85% del pescado.
Artisanal fisheries provide up to 85% of the fish consumed in some countries and are also the primary source of animal protein for thousands of people, many of them from indigenous communities, hence their strategic importance in Latin America and the Caribbean. Now we will begin with the regional initiatives block, and I would like to give the floor to Alejandro Flores Nava, who is the Principal Officer for Fisheries and Aquaculture in Latin America and the Caribbean. Alejandro, you have the floor. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good day to all. Allow me to share my screen.
Si ven la presentación, perdón.
Please confirm that you can see the presentation. Yes, we can. Thank you. Thank you to all of you who have taken the floor before me. I would like to share some thoughts with you, specifically with regard to the background information leading up to the International Year of Artisanal Fisheries and Aquaculture 2022 in Latin America and the Caribbean. Allow me to refer to how this came about and how we have organized our activities to ensure its success. I'm trying to move on to the next slide. Very well, then I've been successful. Okay, now I would like to provide you with a brief history on this year. And you have all at some point taken part in the drafting and adoption of voluntary directives to ensure the sustainability of artisanal and small-scale fisheries and aquaculture. This is an instrument that has been fostered and endorsed by FAO, and I would have to say that it is probably the most referred to document in the history of FAO's existence. Now, this document focuses significantly on workers' rights and on trying to create greater recognition for fisheries and aquaculture and their support in alleviating poverty, but it's also focused on fostering closure of the gaps in to access to basic resources and to ensuring that the efforts try to do that, and the directives have been rolled out in the region. I'm pretty sure you all know this, but nonetheless, I will repeat it. In February 2016, during a small-scale artisanal fisheries and aquaculture meeting in Latin America, a group of member countries of this organization, of this committee, started talking about the possibility of making one of the future years the International Year of Artisanal Fisheries and Aquaculture. And they decided that they would lobby for this by way of their country representatives at headquarters in Rome. And that same year, mid-year in 2016, at the FAO Fisheries Committee, this group of small group of countries, or rather the GRULAC, issued its official proposal, requesting that the committee adopt the proposal and thus submit this to the UN General Assembly for consideration. And then the following year, the General Assembly actually accepted this proposal and declared 2022 as the International Year of Artisanal Fisheries and Aquaculture. And here we are today in November 2021, watching this dream come true. This was the result of a small discussion at a small meeting and echoes how important it is to recognize and boost the living conditions of this entire sector around the globe. Now, what are the objectives of this? Well, to improve overall understanding as to the importance and raise awareness with regard to the food and economic importance of artisanal fisheries and small-scale aquaculture. We know that this is, there's not a great deal of information on the significant effort that these two sectors represent for hundreds and thousands of workers. They do a great deal to make sure that we have seafood products on our tables. Now, also, these directives aim to, and the International Year aims to foster dialogue and cooperation in order to strengthen capacity that will boost the sustainability of fisheries and aquaculture at these levels and elsewhere as well, and to foster social development and the well-being of the millions of families who rely on this activity. Thank you. Now, there's an international steering committee, in fact, that is presided over by the government of Peru, as mentioned by our regional director. As you can see here, there's a list of states represented on this international steering committee: Indonesia, Kiribati, Kuwait, Peru, Spain, Tanzania, and the US. And there are other observer nations and alternates: Chile, Argentina, and other non-governmental organizations as well. Their common denominator here is to foster sustainable fisheries and aquaculture. Next slide, please. There is a global action plan, in fact, for the International Year of Artisanal Fisheries and Aquaculture. This plan consists of several different areas of work, 7 specifically, and they are environmental sustainability, economic sustainability, social sustainability, better governance, gender equity and equality, nutritional and food security, and resilience. All of these have assigned to them a variety of different specific actions that aim to meet the specific needs of countries and micro-regions. But I just wanted to mention that these 7 areas are a common denominator for all the efforts of the committee. Now, this is the context for having created 3 regional committees that are administrative in nature from within FAO regional, and we have divided our efforts into 3 sub-regions to better meet the regional needs. And we have the Mesoamerica, the Caribbean, and the South American Committee. And we have these 3 sub-regional committees, as I've already mentioned. One consists of members of COPACO, which is the Commission for Western Central Atlantic Fishing. And then we have the South American Committee for celebrating the International Year of Artisanal Fisheries and Aquaculture, run by our colleague in the Santiago office, and then the Mesoamerican Committee for celebrating the International Year of Artisanal Fisheries and Aquaculture. I lead that committee from Panama. Next slide, please.
So, of course, I'm not going to take all the time to see this because there's a number of countries that are part of COPACO, but also they strongly contribute. Countries, very developed countries such as the UK, Spain, Japan, France, the Netherlands, they're all part in the decisions that are adopted at COPACO, and this is exactly where this committee has been created, with objectives that are in line with the AIPAA global objectives. Well, some activities programmed in the region by COPACO in this committee, the ones are shown here for the fourth Q of 2021 that has already taken place, a special session about the international year in the meeting of the Instituto de Pesquerías del Golfo y del Caribe, a very traditional meeting, long-standing meeting of academicians and producers, where there's an important knowledge and experience exchange. And a special session took place there. Also, the request was to appoint sample organizations that can not only be individuals, but also fishing authorities, civil society, and mostly producers, in order to disseminate those examples of best practices and their experiences for the benefit of the region, to integrate them into a document with these models. That is in the process of developing a roadmap. In South America, the countries that are part of the committee, that is headed by the Uruguayan government, these countries are the ones you read on the slide. The objectives in general are very much in line with the overall objectives to establish dialogue mechanisms, experience exchange mechanisms, and best practices among the stakeholders, and the development of joint actions to strengthen artisanal fishing and aquaculture as a guarantee of food security. Next one, please. You have 1 more minute, Alejandro, please. Well, some action lines in the case of South America. The first objective, to organize a virtual congress for artisanal fishing and aquaculture, developing a declaration among the different stakeholders in the framework of the virtual congress to strengthen the political commitment of the countries of supporting and fostering the position of artisanal fishing and small-scale aquaculture. And also to create some document that integrates those successful experiences so that they can be disseminated about best practices in fishing and small-scale aquaculture in other countries. The idea is also, the previous one, please. The idea is to promote the associations among fishing folk groups and strengthening value chains. Something important to improve the access to markets, because strengthening their capabilities through food security, food safety, and also to foster the consumption of sea products, promoting local sourcing to favor precisely artisanal fishermen. Can you please close your presentation, because we are already late?
El Comité Mesoamericano, bueno,
The
está
Mesoamerican Committee is integrated by countries in
Sistema de Integración Centroamericana.
in Central America, represented by OSPESCA, CONAPESCA from Mexico, CONFEPESCA, Alianza de Pescadores Indígena, and a number of aquaculture organizations in our different countries. The objectives are basically the same: to promote dialogue. And something important here is to promote inclusion of artisanal aquaculture and fishermen. This is a line of work that is fundamental, that has been adopted by the Mesoamerican Committee through very specific actions, and to strengthen associations and the organization of artisanal fishermen and women. Well, there's a Mesoamerican Congress for the first half of 2022, and this we started reviewing the condition of these groups as part of the social protection schemes. This is going to be an input for a regional forum in 2022 about social protection for fishermen and women, with a series of policy recommendations to foster these in the different countries are considered, and the creation of the small-scale aquaculture association in Mesoamerica, which is an agreement. So this is information. There's a web page you can have access to with lots of material. But of course, we are available, each one of our colleagues, to answer questions or to join the celebrations. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Alejandro,
Perdón,
por tu
Martina.
presentación. Sí, no te preocupes, está muy interesante, pero estamos muy justos con los tiempos.
Yeah, don't worry, it's interesting, but we are running short of time. I'd like to thank the committee led by Peru and the members of the 3 sub-regional committees of Mesoamerica, Western, Central Atlantic, and South America, and all those who have supported us through this year and, of course, 2022, and to keep on working on these topics. Next, we'd like to invite you to fill out a brief on-screen survey, and there are 2 ways of doing this. If you would give me 1 second, we are going to share this with you so you can see it on the screen. You have to click on the Mentimeter link that is in the YouTube platform chats, and also in the panelist chats, those of you who are in the Zoom session. Or if you can't have access to that, you can click on www.menti.com and enter 3940-7562 code, the one you can read on the screen at the top. And with that, you can answer a survey that we are sharing with more than 1,100 attendees. We will give you a few seconds so you can register or you can post your answer. The question is, broadly speaking, the expected outcomes of the international year fall into 4 categories. What outcome would you consider to be essential? Raising awareness, strengthened science and policy interface, empowering stakeholders, creating new partnerships, and strengthening the existing ones. Please note that this is only to get to know your opinions and to strengthen this event, the results that are only indicative. Let's take a look at the results. Now, if you can see it on the screen, 63%, the majority, consider that what's essential is to empower the stakeholders. And second, the other options, it changed a little bit, the strengthening of the interface. Also creating new partnerships, and a lower percentage, 8% for raising awareness. You can keep answering this survey as we conclude the event. We are running completely short of time now, and that's why I'd like to offer the floor to His Excellency Mr. Saboto Schofield, who is the Minister of Agriculture, Rural Transformation, Forestry and Fisheries of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He is also chairman of the Ministerial Council of the Caribbean Regional Fisheries Mechanism. Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Excellencies, colleagues, stakeholders, members of the industry, or dear fishers. It's definitely a pleasure and an honor to address you. It is a very important juncture in the development of fisheries industries globally. And I am grateful that the United Nations General Assembly has declared 2020 as the International Year of Artisanal Fisheries and Aquaculture 2022. I want to begin by commending the youngest person who has spoken today, Angela Delgado, and she noted that we must speak up. I want to commend her excellent work as an environmental activist, and what she has done for us is that she has placed us on a very important trajectory so that over the next 12 months, we can set a framework and a platform to incorporate the youth into our work, since they form an exceptional cadre of human resource capacity needed to guide fisheries for the future. Acknowledging the uniqueness of the International Year and consistent with ongoing efforts across the region, I call upon member states to integrate dedicated IYAFA activities in their programs and promote the achievement of the objectives of the IYAFA 2022 celebrations. Particularly, these activities should feature key actions for the region, such as gender equality and women empowerment. Partners to actively sign on to IYAFA supporters and organize initiatives and events. We are definitely encouraging this. And all member states and partners to advocate for and support the achievement of the ambitions of the International Year. To turn 21st November, which is currently celebrated informally as World Fisheries Day, into an official UN Day on small-scale artisanal fisheries and aquaculture, so that we can come together every year in the future to continue the celebrations. It is a moment for us to celebrate, but it is also a moment for us to reflect. Throughout many small island developing states and throughout the world globally, we are still suffering with the issue of illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. And we must, in our reflection, do what it takes to ensure that our preparation for the future, that we are guided by excellent actions. Again, I wish to thank you, and I am looking forward from the CRFM member countries to working with the world to ensure that this year is an exceptional one. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, señor ministro. Creo que no hay un mejor cierre que ese, reforzando el trabajo y la importancia de la pesca artesanal para la región. Agradecemos a todas y todos por compartir con nosotros en este lanzamiento regional, en especial a los panelistas, a los participantes y organizadores, así como a todas las personas que nos acompañaron por Twitter y por el canal de la FAO en YouTube, que fueron más de 1.200. También agradecemos a la Oficina Regional de la FAO en América Latina y el Caribe. Pueden volver a ver este webinar o compartirlo con los suyos en nuestro canal de YouTube, en nuestro sitio web y también desde la cuenta de Twitter de FAO Américas. Trabajemos juntos para celebrar el 2022 con todas y todos ustedes y recordemos que la pesca y la acuicultura artesanales son pequeñas de tamaño, pero de un enorme valor. Muchas gracias por su participación y que tengan buena tarde.